Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vero, and in today's video I'm going to be setting up my October spreads. For most of my viewers, October is like that fall transition going into the winter months of the year, but for me, the end of the year means going into spring, which is why I'm wearing a nice summer dress, although it is currently freezing outside, and as soon as I finish recording I will be putting on a jumper and pants. Anyway, we're not here to talk about clothes, we're here to talk about bullet journaling, so let's get straight into it.
Alrighty, before we get started with the spreads today, I'm just going to flip through my September spreads. I absolutely love my September spreads. I love the color purple here. Feel like it's missing a bit of a pop of like some fluoro colors somewhere, but really love it anyway. Here's my weekly spreads over here. More weekly spreads with some coral down the bottom, a last weekly spread and a review page, and then we move on to October. My theme for October is a spooky adjacent theme, so I'm using the colors associated with Halloween and spooky colors, but it's not really that spooky. It's an orange, black, white theme. I'm going to start off by drawing the word October, and then I'm going to add some corals into the lettering, but let's get back to that in a second. To start off with, I copied font for font, letter for letter, this print over here from Pinterest. I think it's somebody else's print, so I take absolutely no credit for this one. I just thought it looked really good and it went with the vibe for October and Halloween that I was going for. I'm just going to copy out every single letter, and it kind of looks like this. Here I'm measuring out to see whether I should have used some sort of ruler to do the letters. I decided against it and went freehand because all the other letters were freehanded, so there was no point having like one perfect circle and then everything else being normal. I love this orange acrylograph from Archer&Olive because it is so smooth and buttery and it actually runs really well. You'll see later on in this video I do have a bit of trouble with some of my acrylographs. I think it's because the paint dries too fast when I'm using them, or I think possibly just, I don't know, other factors. We'll get into it later. But anyway, here's some clips of me coloring in and painting, and I'm also going to show you from a different perspective. And as you can see, the pen runs so smooth. I really do love the acrylographs. They're so fun, especially when you get a color that runs smoothly like this. If you don't get one and it's scratchy and annoying, it does get quite frustrating. And also from this camera angle, you can also see that the orange is not fully opaque, so I am going to be going over the orange a second time just to give it more opacity the second time round, and you'll see that right now with the because I'm just going to do that one. As you can see, a second layer from the acrylograph really gives it that opacity that I'm looking for, so that you can't see any of the black paper peeking through the orange, which is really the effect that I'm going for. And then I'm going to go on top of the orange with some decorations. The decorations I'm looking at are similar to these ones that I have at the back. So these are all the different corals that I've kind of drawn and thought of in the last couple of weeks, and the one I'm going for is this one here that I'm pointing to, and I'm just going to put it on one side of each of the letters. I'm starting off by using a silver acrylograph. On camera it does look like it's standing out very nicely and very well, however in reality it doesn't, so I decided to go over it with a black brush liner. And first I'm just going to outline the silver bits because I thought maybe I would like it this way. You can see me hold it up and it looks kind of good, and here's another angle. But as you can see with the C, I'm going to actually color in the little circles or the centers of that algae in black, and I think I much prefer it this way, which is why I'm going to go back to the O and color the whole thing in black as well. But what did you think? Should I have left it silver? Should I have left it with silver insides and black on the outside? Or do you agree with me when I say coloring it all in black was a good idea? Let me know in the comments. As I mentioned, I'm going to repeat this process for every single letter. I'm going to do a first wavy line just at the beginning, just to give me the base of my algae leaf. And then I'm going to do these little, they kind of look like little sperms, not gonna lie. Little sperms going off of that long stem, and then just going to draw them out so it looks like a nice algae shape. Unfortunately, the lighting at this angle with this particular pen just doesn't really go. It kind of reflects off of the pen, so you can't really see all that well. So let's change the camera angle again just to finish off this decoration. Now that I'm finishing off this decoration, I figured leaving it just with the letters is a bit plain, so I'm going to add on some more coral on the side, going for the silver and the white acrylograph again. This time I am going to use these two acrylographs because on black paper they do stand out, which is the effect I'm going for. I'm just going to lay them from side to side, so here's a quick little snapshot of all of this happening, and enjoy. Once the silver ones are laid down, I'm gonna go in with the white ones as well. this is what it looks like. Now let's move on to the monthly log. Last month you saw me use a vertical calendar spread, and whilst it did sort of work for me last month, I'm going to go back to my normal calendar spread because I much prefer a calendar. For this calendar, it is still the same size as all of my other calendars that I've done in my previous bullet journal, which is the A4 bullet journal. So it's 4 squares by 4 squares for each of the days of the month, and it just happens to look bigger because this is a much smaller journal. Because if you didn't know, I am using a B6 journal for the rest of the year so that I can fit in the 4 last months of 2022, because my first journal was an A4 journal and it could fit in only 8 months of the year. So that's the reasoning behind this one. We now get to the header. So again, going to write October, but this time with the white acrylograph. Now, as you can see, I'm starting to struggle with this white acrylograph. I have never had an issue with this pen, like ever, and I've had it for a year and a bit. Today, it's starting to struggle on me. You know what? Is it because I've run out of ink? No, surely not. I'm gonna have to double check that now. But I struggled with it. I changed the nib as well just to see if it could flow better, and it did flow for a little bit, but then it just stopped working again. I'm gonna try one last time, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. It does really well for just lines, but then coloring in, it kind of fails on me, even though I'm changing the nib a lot, or trying to at least. It just gives off a very scratchy feeling, and it's just not cooperating with me today. As you can see on the O, it's very, very scratchy. It did manage to put down some paint in some areas, but not the effect I was looking for. So I got frustrated and I put it to the side and I grabbed a different pen altogether. I switched to this Pentel hybrid gel grip pen, but then I saw that it wasn't giving me the opaque layer that I wanted, so I switched yet again to a white gouache paint. Also not giving me the opacity, but I'm gonna go over with different layers because paint on black paper, it's just going a lot smoother. I'm not getting any scratchy feeling, and it's just gonna work a lot better this way. So let's just quickly watch me paint the rest of the word October, then we're going to continue on from there. If you're wondering about spacing at all, each larger part of each letter is about 2 boxes across, so it's 1 centimeter across in thickness, and then I just kind of wing the height of each of the letters. I vary the letter heights, I go by ear, I go by feel to see what kind of height I want. As you can see, the gouache paint is working a lot nicer. It does dry a little bit thinner in terms of color than I wanted to, but then I'm just going to go over it with another layer. The reason why it is drying so thin is because I had dried out gouache paints on this, so I accidentally put a bit too much water and it just turned out that way. I'm going to do my little weekly headers on the top as well. I'm going to fill in the calendar with all the numbers of the month, and I'm going to write Monday through Sunday on the top in the little orange bits whilst I wait for everything else to dry so that I can fill in and decorate in a moment. After decorating, my paint still hadn't dried, so I decided I was going to wait a little bit longer for it to dry and add in a little detail. I don't usually have anything on this right hand column, but I've decided to have a to-do list for the entire month, kind of like what traditional bullet journaling is all about. You're supposed to have a monthly log, which is where you write everything that you need to do in the month, except for my calendar can't really fit that kind of thing in, which is why I'm going to have the to-do list on the side so that I actually know what I need to get done that month. It's slightly different to a goals list, as you can imagine. Goals and to-do lists kind of tie together. For a specific goal, you have more than one to-do list, so that's a small difference there. Finally, I'm going to go in with the decorations, and as you can see, I'm going to start using the orange acrylograph, and it kind of does work here, except for because my paint isn't fully dry, it does end up scratching a little bit, and it scratches itself off, which is why I end up going for some orange gouache paint by mixing yellow and red together to give the same color as this one. And I'm just going to switch to that one because, as you can see, it's not really working out. Anyway, before I go in with that orange gouache, I'm just going to decorate the orange letters down in the to-do, and I'm just going to use the same black brush pen that I was using earlier. It is the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. It's a hard tip brush pen. I have gone over this multiple times before in some other videos, so if you're interested, you can go and watch those ones as well. I think I'll link one up here if I can find out which one it is. And I'm just going to go with this one because it does give off those really fine details that I really want. But after this, I'm going to go back to a black acrylograph because it was faster. I don't actually know why I ended up changing things. I just decided to. So here you can see that I swapped to the orange gouache paint, and it just goes a lot faster. Although I did speed this clip up, obviously, but it's going faster because I can work wet on wet and it's not going to move around, even though it's still a bit wet. I've decided to go in again with the orange acrylograph just to add in some more of those little algae/coral things around the letters, because I did that with the cover page and I figured it would tie together nicely if I did it on this section as well. Personally, I think it looks really well put together, and I'm just going to do another round of it in silver next to my to-do list just so you know, both sides get a little bit of action. Alrighty, so that is my monthly log done, and now I'm going to move on to my habits tracker and my goals page. Originally, I was going to have a focus page like I did in September, but I decided to change it to goals last minute because I felt like the focus page was something I wanted to focus on for the rest of the year. So I'm just going to keep using the same one that I had in September, and I'm just going to have to set specific goals for October so that they kind of go back in line with my focus page that I did in September. If you're interested in that one, by the way, you can check it out by clicking the link to my September plan with me, and I go in depth explaining the things that I want to track and how I use it. I'm going to write goals on the bottom for this one, and I'm just going to use exactly the same font. Because this font is copied from the print earlier, I have to kind of make up how the letters are going to look like for the A, the G, the L, and the S. You kind of get a rough idea because fonts usually stick together and stay harmonious. So when you have an upstroke, they all look the same, and then the rounded letters all similarly look the same. So there are some things there that you can figure out if you are curious how to replicate a font from somebody else. As you can see, the letters are quite transparent or translucent, so I'm going to of course give this a second coating just so that everything is nice and opaque. For the word habits, I evidently forgot to film when I was doing the H, A and the B, but I'm doing the I and the T and the S in this one, and unfortunately this is my silver acrylograph and I was having exactly the same problem as the white one for this one today. The next day when I used the silver, it didn't have this problem. I think it was just that day or when I was filming. I think I was also trying to color in too fast. I think you've got to take it a little bit slower for the ink to flow better and not be as scratchy. Things to think about. I'm going to go in with my black acrylograph this time, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm just going to draw in my little design. Why did I change to a black acrylograph? I do not know, but it runs nice and smooth. Both of pens were doing well. I think the reason is because the Tombow Funosuke was it felt like it would smudge easily, but I'm not sure if that's accurate at all, so I don't know. I think drawing coral or filling out this particular coral is so relaxing because you just kind of let the shapes and the forms go without thinking too hard about it, because whatever you decide to do, it'll look good anyway. You don't have to put too much thought into it, which is kind of the thing that I'm going for at the moment. Things that are easy and no-brainers where I don't have to think too hard about it, just making my life easier, you know. Now I'm just going to do the same thing with the word habits. I'm going to use the black on the silver this time instead of an orange because it's silver and I feel like orange wouldn't stand out as good. Don't know where I got that idea from. I'm sure it would have worked out just fine. For one of my goals, I'm going to get back into selling stickers or selling prints on Etsy because I have finally gotten myself a printer and I can start doing things again. So if you're interested in buying any of my prints, a couple of them are pictured here. Go ahead and click on the link to my Etsy store. It's linked down below. I'm really excited to get back into selling, so if you want to support me, thank you very much. For my habits, this month I'm going to track 4 habits. Now I haven't decided on the 4 habits yet. I've decided that it's going to be 4 habits because 4 habits are going to fit nicely onto this page. And the idea behind this particular tracker is, like in September, when I've done the habit for that day, I just color in over the number. So it's like a little circle over the top of the number. I could decide to write the number on the top with a different color, but that's too much work. After coloring in those little boxes, I'm going to let it dry for a second before going in with a pen to write which habits I'm going to track. And I'm going to go back to the goals page and just lay down some nice orange coral / algae just around the word goals, just to give it a little bit more dimension or a little bit more excitement to that page. I'm pleasantly surprised with how everything is turning out. I had absolutely no expectations of what this theme was going to look like when I was going into it. It was just kind of an idea that I got from this print for the word October, and I had no idea what I was going to end up doing for the rest of the month. But I'm really happy with how this has turned out and how it's turning out. I think it has that spooky adjacent vibe going on. After thinking, the habits that I'm going to be tracking are no meat. I've been doing really well in September. I have not had any meat at all, including fish, because previously I was eating seafood and fish. I'm also going to track my swims again. I have been swimming constantly. I just want to see what days I swim because I don't typically swim on a weekend, and there are a couple of days that I miss out during the week, so I just like to see where I'm at. I also want to get back into yoga. I've kind of been putting this on every single habit tracker for the last couple of months and I haven't been doing it, but this month I'm doing it, okay? And then the last one is just my hair tracker, just to see what days I wash my hair. I want to wash my hair specifically on Mondays and Fridays because I don't like washing my hair every single day because that is bad for your hair And if you do wash your hair every single day, please stop. Give it time to breathe. You don't need to be washing your hair every single day. Anyway, the final spread that I'm going to be doing in this video today is my first weekly spread of October. Just before I get into it, I'm going to quickly throw an idea by you guys and just answer down in the comments what you think. Instead of doing weekly videos where I set up all of my weekly spreads, I think I'm going to be doing shorts where I set up one weekly spread every single week in a short. So a short is 60-second video, and I'll just have like kind of that video there. Every single week you'll see a different weekly spread. That way there's no whole video about it, because I feel like my spreads end up being the same, and I just want to step away from having a very long complex video about it, and I think this is a better approach. I'm going to trial it out for October. If you think it's a good idea, if you end up liking it, please let me know when you watch those shorts, and if you would prefer a full-length video, also let me know when I start publishing those shorts. But that should start happening from next week. I think I'm going to stop posting other kinds of videos for the moment, just as I'm getting into a very busy part of my life. So I'm going to be doing shorts and then one full-length video once a month, just to see how I go and see what you guys think of it. And yeah, pretty exciting. Anyway, we've seen me just write the letters OCT for October. This is in the silver acrylograph, by the way. I'm going to have the weekly box on the right side of that page, and I'm going to have 7 boxes instead of my usual 5, because I did notice that even though I usually only write my work shifts, I was kind of missing having the Saturday-Sunday box, because it's nice to have certain events planned in as well. For this one, we're going into week 40, so week 40 of the year. That's pretty crazy. And the day that I'm writing down, Monday the 3rd of October, is a very exciting day, and I hope you come to either my community tab or to Instagram on Monday the 3rd of October, because I'm going to be revealing a nice little secret that I've been holding on to for about a week or so. I'm very excited to announce what that secret is. So come back on Monday the 3rd. Anyway, just for the little designs on the silver acrylograph, of course, I'm going in with my black acrylograph to do the little algae/coral. I'm also going to write W40 on the left side of that O, just to indicate what week it is, because I don't think I've been doing that, and I feel like that's a really great spot to put the W40 where it's not going to be interfering with any of the design areas of this page. Because this is solely silver and black, I feel like it is missing that signature orange, so I'm going to add some orange coral down the bottom, also just around the OCT, just to tie everything in, and that'll be it. If you have any questions in regards to how I use my weekly spread, the idea is that I have a to-do list that is separated by the days of the week. So I have the Monday to Sunday in the little initials on that left-hand side underneath the decorations at the moment. I'm going to use one of the keys to fill in those to-do lists. So the idea is, if on Monday I need to do one thing, I'll put a little box under the M, and then on the right side, after all those letters, I'm going to have the to-do task that I need to get done. I hope that wasn't too rambly and you understood what I was trying to say. But in case you have any doubts, head on over to my Instagram to see a picture of what it looks like. Just for this last little coral that I'm drawing, I'm also going to put in a little black coral over the top of the orange one. I don't know if it was a good idea. You certainly can't see it under certain lighting situations, but I feel like when you angle the page to a certain way, you can see that there's black on the top of the orange, and I think it looks kind of cool. Lastly, we've come to the end of the video where I do my flip through, because everybody loves a good flip through, and I'm just going to show you all of the spreads that I've done for this week or for this month for October. This is the cover page. I absolutely love how this turned out. It's the same font all throughout the month. My monthly log, my goals page, and my habits page. I have other goals that I need to put there, but I just haven't figured them out yet. And my first weekly spread of October. So come back next Monday to see how I plan my next weekly spread in the YouTube Shorts part of my channel.
If you don't have a blackout bullet journal for October this year and you'd like some ideas for a white bullet journal, you can check out this video next.